Proceed. We all set? Okay. Good evening. Welcome to the Legislative and Administrative Committee and the June 24th, 2024 meeting. If you'll all please stand for a moment of silence and Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible.
Thank you very much. Madam Clerk, can we have a roll call, please?
Joseph Pifko,
Here.
Mike Buswell, Steve Lemoyne,
Here.
Veronica Lenzen,
Here.
Jason Marsh,
Here.
Ashley Gaudiano, Tony Cinto, and Nicole Satin.
Okay, thank you. We have one individual who would like to speak and have public comment on one of the items on our agenda. If that individual will come forth and state his name and address, please.
Hi, good evening. My name is Mark.
Button on the base of the
Microphone.
microphone.
Even need a microphone with mine? Okay.
go.
Good evening. My name is Mark McKeel. I reside at 27 Edgewood Avenue in Trumbull, a lifetime Trumbull resident. I want to thank you, first of all, for taking me out of order. I do appreciate that. And I'm also very thrilled and surprised that some of my neighbors are here as well. So thank you for taking us out of order. So I just wanted to get on board early with the article I saw about Edgewood Avenue as, the Grace Episcopal Church being purchased by the town of Trumbull. First, let me state, I think it's great that the town is purchasing it rather than a private developer. I think that's absolutely wonderful. So I'm a lifetime resident. I've been at this podium many times. I've been in your chairs too. I was a 9-year member of Inland Wetlands. So I appreciate and value your time. So I'm going to try and be very brief, just have a couple of points that I want to get on board early in the process. So bear with me if you don't mind. So I'm just here on the record to get on the earliest stages for a better understanding and clarification of Resolution TC 30-67. That's on your agenda this evening. The resolution would approve the first selectwoman, my friend Vicky, to negotiate the purchase of the Grace Episcopal Church property located at 5958 Main Street, Trumbull, and Edgewood Avenue parcels E06-206, 207, 209, 210, and 211, negotiate the purchase to the town of Trumbull. I'm aware that this property just recently became available and that the process is fluid and moving forward quickly. I'd appreciate it if the questions that I'm going to ask and the letter that I have ready to submit to you, if they could be part of the agenda for the next full town council meeting. And I'm happy to submit that letter to you. As a resident of Edgewood Avenue, I believe the purchase is prudent and necessary to keep our town out of the hands of private developers. And given that the town does the due diligence and proper vetting has been performed on the property. With respect to Wednesday's planning and zoning meeting, I believe the purchase of the property is, I'm sorry, I'm nervous. Jason, I'm nervous doing it.
Just picture Carl in his underwear.
No. Okay, I'm good now. With respect to the June 26th, Wednesday planning and zoning meeting, I'm hoping that the notes and the recordings of that meeting will be available to all the members of the town council and the public for viewing and informational purposes for your July 1st full-up meeting. I think it's important that their comments are reviewed by the full town council. As a resident of Edgewood, I believe that the purchase again is prudent and necessary. I'm going to repeat, I'm aware the property has recently become available. However, I would expect that there have been vetting that has taken place for the past several weeks, if not months. So I have a couple of questions that perhaps you can answer, or perhaps you can't, but I would like them to be given some consideration. Has there been a phase 1 environmental assessment performed for the property? And if so, is there a report that's available? I don't know if you can answer directly or how that works. You can't answer during my public speech, okay. So again, has there been a property condition or PCA performed on the buildings on the property? Is that report available? As a Realtor, by the way, I'm a Realtor with Remax Right Choice, also located here in Trumbull. Another hometown boy, Jeff Wright, is the broker owner. But as a Realtor, we have to do property disclosure reports. And I'm wondering if any such documentation exists as to the condition of the properties that we're planning to purchase. Have we done any due diligence? And if we have, is it available? If we performed a property condition assessment, that logic would lead me to believe that we plan on demolishing the existing building. If we haven't performed a property condition assessment, that would lead me to believe we're going to demolish the building. If there's been a property condition assessment, what does it say about the usability and long-term maintenance of the existing structures? Without these critical elements being vetted, without such information, how do we know what we're really truly purchasing? My assumption is, I know I'm not supposed to assume, is that we've done that type of vetting. The 5 parcels in the back of the church are all addressed as Edgewood Avenue. Do they have some sort of access to Edgewood currently, or are they just reached through the former parsonage? There are 140 parcels within 500 feet of these properties, including the open space owned by the town and the valley. And has there been any abutting property notification? I can tell you the answer to that is no. I walked our neighborhood yesterday, and unfortunately, again, some of my neighbors showed up. I know this is quick and fluid, but some type of notification should be given to the abutting property owners if and when it's purchased of what's planned for there. Hopefully there'll be a commitment that if we do purchase the property, that we'll be notified as neighbors of any future plans the town might have for the property. A lot of speculation, but speculation doesn't help anybody. So we just need to understand what's happening in our neighborhood. I would like to ask if the purchase can be conditioned that the town council, through the town council, that the property will not be considered for a public or private pool or a swim complex by the town now or at any point in the future. And can it be conditioned that the church building be preserved on site? I'm not aware of its historical value because this is so fluid and has happened so quickly, but I can attest to its beauty. And we do know we have a lot of older buildings in town that should be reviewed by the Historical Society and then ultimately by the Demolition Committee if they're deemed to be demolished. A lot of talk going on about that right now, right? Lastly, a personal plea. That serious consideration come from Planning and Zoning, which I'll go to Wednesday night as well, and from the Town Council. If you purchase it, let's do something that considers the neighbors. We've been there for a long time. We're asking for some thoughtfulness, concern, and consideration for our neighbors. We're directly impacted by this purchase, and the property should be noted as a concern for the transparency and through any resolutions for development. And again, I walk my neighborhood on Sunday, and I never do this. I've been there almost 40 years. I'm a Realtor. I don't go door to door. That's not me. That's not my style. But I was sitting after my wife's birthday party and just sat there, and she said, "What's wrong?" I said, "I don't think anybody knows. This isn't going to impact me. I'm across the street on Edgewood. So not too much of it, I hope, would impact me. But I have neighbors here who back right up to the Grace Episcopal property. And I just knocked on their doors, and I can tell you from the shock in their face, I hope that some sincerity, some consideration, some thoughtfulness will be going into whatever is planned for that property. With that, I thank you and appreciate you taking me out of turn again.
Okay, thank you, sir. A couple of administrative movements here. Resolution TC 3063, which is listed under full resolutions, will be dealt with at the Town Council and not discussed tonight. It's a purely town council matter. And Resolution TC 30-66, I would like a motion if we can take that out of order. The individuals that are here to discuss that are here, and we'd like to give them the courtesy of speaking first.
I'll
So
make that
moved.
motion. Oh, second.
Oh,
You pick, Margaret.
Okay, let's not fight about it. Okay, thank you. Mr. Marsh, will you bring Resolution TC 3066 to the floor, please?
certainly, Mr. Chairman. Resolution TC 30-66, be it resolved that a certain 5-year lease between Trumbull Center LLC as landlord and the town of Trumbull as tenant for the premises described as the following: Unit 10, approximately 1,600 square feet, second floor, 2 Daniels Farm Road, Trumbull, Connecticut, is hereby approved, and be it further resolved that Vicky A. Tesoro, First Selectman, is authorized to execute the lease on behalf of the town, and be it further resolved that, as a condition of this approval, the Board of Education shall assume the responsibility of making all rental payments provided for in said lease.
Second.
Okay, we have an individual to speak. Can you please identify yourself and
Good evening.
give us a story?
Yeah, so as many of you know, we Trumbull Public Schools runs Next Chapter Books, which is the job training platform in which our post-high school students run a bookstore, which is an app.
Excuse me, can you identify yourself for the record?
Oh, sorry,
please?
Dean Catalano, Trumbull Public Schools Director of People Personnel Services. Apologies.
Thank you.
So we run that bookstore. So this opportunity kind of arose when we noticed that there was a vacated karate studio, so which is adjacent to the Next Chapter Books. So one thing that, even though Next Chapter Books does serve a purpose as far as that vocational training, we're really looking to advance the program by including leisure and activities of daily living or functional skills. So what we plan to do with that space was to actually create an instructional classroom-like environment. We'd also like to create a functional, simple kitchen with an oven, a cooktop perhaps, washer, dryer, so the students can practice those skills as part of their specially designed programming. So that's kind of what our vision is at this point. Some good news is we were able to secure some funding as far as grants, entitlement grants from the federal government for this program to kind of help to get it off the ground and to develop it. So and then where we are now is we're looking at the actual lease agreement, and there's questions going back and forth between the Board of Ed, Dr. Semmel, Superintendent of Schools, and Paul Hendrickson, Business Manager, just about the actual lease and ensuring it's a viable lease that, suits all of our purposes, legally and practically. So that's kind of where we're at. And I know that one of the conversations was talking about ensuring that the lease for Next Chapter Books and this new space terminate on the same date, which would be, well, it's in the lease, the preliminary lease would be June 30th, 2029, because it's a 5-year lease, which probably may not happen or not, but that's what it's kind of written as right now. So that's kind of where we're at, and I'm happy to answer any questions about the actual space or...
Sure. So full disclosure, I do your job in Norwalk for our high schools and transition programming. So
fantastic.
Sorry if I get into
No, it's
the
okay.
details or the weeds. I'll try to stay out of them. Where is the transition program currently located? Is it within Trumbull High, or does it have another space?
It's a little more complicated. There's actually many spaces because we partner with many,
Sure.
in the community. So
But the
from
classroom
Sacred Heart
space,
to-
do you have a classroom space
So
that
the
you
classroom, so the classroom space, really, we try to use, Next Chapter Books, and then we also do have a space at the high school as well. But this is more convenient because you actually get your specially designed instruction in that space. Open a
Would
door.
that be your plan? The reason I'm asking is
that would
your
be the
plan to move the students exclusively out of Trumbull High and then only use this space, or will they still be at Trumbull High?
We would still keep certain students at Trumbull High School because depending on the specifics of the student's disability, that might be a better space. Perhaps the students are working more on pre-vocational level.
Okay.
So.
And when the students are working at Next Chapter or any of the other community partners, are they paid? Is it a half pay, half train? How does that work for the students that are
Yeah, we
working?
definitely do. I forget what this actual stipend amount is, but we do pay students. They do get a stipend.
Okay. And last question. The money that's made through Next Chapter, if I said Next Steps before, I'm sorry, that's the name of our
That's okay.
program.
Totally got
For Next Chapter Books, when they sell the books and whatever they're doing there, is the money that's made put directly back into the program, or is it put back into the Board of Ed budget to use for the lease? What is that
Yeah,
money?
it's put back, again, Mr. Hendrickson's not here, so I don't want to speak out of turn, but it goes back into an account that helps to fund the program.
Okay. Thank
That's
you.
my simple kind of explanation.
It's okay. Thank you. I tried to stay out of the weeds.
Not necessarily pertaining to the lease, but given that Ms. Lenzen deals with this as well, given that we're expanding sort of the transition program, is there any efforts to extend to folks who have gone in the transition program but have aged out? There is and speaking from personal experience, there is a critical gap of once kids hit 22 and there's really no services that follow, they're finding it difficult to follow up on the transition services. Would this allow Trumbull High to extend the age of participation or to provide additional transition services for those kids who have aged out of the traditional program?
Yeah, absolutely. So statutorily in Connecticut, we service kids up, well, actually changed. I think we might have brought this up at some other council meetings. The age in which students age out of that post-high school program or the transition program is the end of their 22nd year, in which they turn 22, basically. So June 30th of the year, they turn 22. So, and then after that, the Department of Developmental Services really plays the key role in providing those transitional services. So we ensure to partner with DDS very early on in the process to get them that programming after they age out of the public school system. With that being said, we did hire 3 students over at Food Services, so that is fantastic news. So here in Trumbull, so there is opportunity for us to actually hire these students in their community, which is exactly why Next Chapter Books is extremely powerful, because they are learning these skills in their community. So it wouldn't necessarily allow us to extend that because that's in statute, that's kind of when it ends. But nonetheless, we do partner with DDS to ensure that, we have a nice handoff. You're welcome.
Hi, thank you. Can you tell us any more about the status of grant funding or potential grant funding tonight, or?
Well, there's one grant that's still pending. So I can't really speak too much about that, but that would more than offset the cost of, the operational and just the cost of getting it up and running. Because, things cost a lot of money nowadays, and it's good to secure as much funding as you can. But we'll be prepared to speak about that, in the short term. I just don't want to speak too much about it because if things change, I just don't want to, put the proverbial foot in the mouth, sort of thing. But we did receive an entitlement grant through IDEA, which is a special education, which I was alluding to earlier, which was $25,000, and we're really looking to purpose that for instance, for the flooring and for certain equipment or appliances. So again, $25,000 sounds like a lot, but nowadays it doesn't really get you very far. But it is nice that the state kind of let us purpose that for that. That's kind of a new thing they're doing, which I really appreciate. So, and then the other grant we're still working on with Mrs. Beeman, who's our coordinator.
Can I add something to that you may or may not, I don't know. I'm Rena Backler, I'm the Director of Economic and Community Development for the town.
Mike?
Yeah. Rena Backler, Director of Economic and Community Development for the town. First Selectman Tesoro, myself, Barbara on your team, and the staff of the bookstore hosted a meeting, I want to say it was in April, with the president and CEO of the Workplace Inc. in Bridgeport, Joe Carbone. He was 3 weeks out of back surgery, but he came all the way over. And what they do are they provide grants to organizations for that career pathway, and they have some specialized funding for young people and young people with special needs, and he is totally devoted to helping us access this funding through his organization. So today, I got the draft proposal. I haven't read it yet. Barbara, and consultant that we have, is drafting it up. So it's certainly not in the bank, but he has, and Vicki, I know you were there, and he was completely on board. He said, we're going to get this done. And the way his funding works is there's like an allocation per student. So it's like $5,000, something like that, per student each time they're going through. And they receive actual credentials. So in, like, let's say you can do customer service training and there's like a bona fide credential that the students can, so that's part of what we're working toward. Again, it's not done deal yet, but we're working toward that as an ongoing funding stream for the students, and it's kind of contingent on the space too. So I just thought I'd let you all know that, okay? And to be continued. Nice to meet you. So,
Hot off the press. That's great news. That was alluding to kind of what. So thank you.
Yes. Mr. Massaro?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So, Mr. Caruso, where are we in terms of ratification or approval from the Board of Ed? Is this program fully detailed, fleshed out? Has the board voted to go forward with this?
Not yet. I think that one of the reasons, I think that the reason for this discussion is just to really talk about the lease and ensure that, this is appropriate and practicable for us. And then, there's going to be discussions with the Board of Ed about the actual space. I think that today it's going to be more of like a discussion about the program and the lease. And then going forward, we would of course have to go to the Board of Ed.
And we don't know, you haven't quantified exactly what the grant amount is? Is it dependent on the number of students participating?
It's dependent about the number of students. I think preliminary, again, this is just kind of was over $100,000. I think it was around $125,000, around there.
And, okay, from the material we have, the annual cost of the lease is it $50,000?
It's around there. We're looking at between $50,000 and $60,000 for the operational costs of the space.
The entire operational
Yeah,
cost?
yes, exactly. Mr.
Okay.
Hendrickson kind of created a one-sheeter for the operational costs.
So, I know we've ended the school year, started some vacations, superintendent is away. When would you anticipate that the Board of Ed would have the detail worked out and have the final lease terms worked out?
Well, I would, of course, after this meeting, I'll touch base with Dr. Semmel and see what he sees as far as the next steps. I mean, I believe the next board meeting is July 9th, which I believe I'm correct there. So that would be the next time that they would be convened. But again, after this meeting, I'll kind of talk to Dr. Semmel. I know he's away right now.
Yeah, the council traditionally doesn't approve things that haven't been approved by the board who's requesting our action.
I understand.
So, perhaps this might be taken up at a later time.
Absolutely.
Okay, are there any other questions?
No, I was going to make a
Yes.
suggestion.
Yes, go
That's
ahead.
okay. First of all, I think it's great. I'm biased, but I do think it's a great idea. But to Mr. Massaro's point, I do think that it might make sense at this point to make a motion to hold this in committee at this point until some more information comes through and the Board of Ed has an opportunity to vote, at which point the council could certainly entertain that again. So if it's okay to make the formal motion, I would make a motion that we keep this in committee at this point, just so that there can be some further research.
Absolutely.
Not because it's a bad idea, just
Yep,
we
makes
need more
perfect sense.
information.
Okay, do we have a second on
I
that?
second it.
Okay, all in favor? All opposed? Okay, thank you. Thank you for coming in.
All right, thank you for your time.
Appreciate it. With that, we'll take Resolution TC 30-64 to the floor. Ms. Staton, can you present that to the floor, please?
Sure. Resolution TC 30-64, be it resolved that Ann Satherby and the same is hereby appointed as a town council representative of the Hillcrest Middle School Building Committee.
Second.
Yes, Mr. Massaro.
Thank you. Mr. Buswell, Mike Buswell, was originally appointed as the Republican council rep to this committee. He indicated to me that down the road there may be a possibility that he wouldn't be able to participate if the company he works for bids on the project. So he's asked to step down from the committee. Ann Sather has asked to go on. She has left for vacation, so couldn't be here tonight to express her burning desire to get on this committee. So I would ask that you approve this resolution, and so we can take it up next week.
Okay, any questions or comments? Okay. All in favor, say aye. Thank you. Resolution TC 30-65. Ms. Ledson, would you present it to the board, please?
Sure, but I'm not going to yell even though it's all in caps. Resolution TC 30-65, resolution appropriating $142,375,000 for the planning, design, demolition, construction, renovation, equipping, and furnishing of a new Hillcrest Middle School, and authorizing the issuance of $142,375,000 in bonds of the town to meet said appropriation, and pending the issuance thereof, the making of temporary borrowings for such purpose. Full resolution attached.
Thank you. Do we have someone to comment on this? Second. Do we have a second? Ms. Satin? Thank you. Do you have anyone to speak on this?
Mr. Chairman, Board of Finance has approved the bonding authorization, and now comes to you. They haven't sent anybody here tonight to address it. I assume that they will next week. I know that they did a lengthy dog and pony show to explain the project to the council not too long ago. So it's going to be up to Chairman Massaro to decide whether he wants the whole dog and pony show again next Monday. But you can be in touch with powers that be at the Board of Education or the Building Committee with regard to that. Otherwise, I would suggest that this get passed on to the full council and let the full council take it up next week.
Okay, thank you. All in favor? I'm sorry.
Not for Dan?
Can we request that Maria be here on Monday?
Sure we can. Will she be around?
As far as I know, yeah.
We'll reach out.
Tony, if you have specific questions for Maria, it may be helpful to give them before the meeting so she's prepared to answer them.
Okay.
Thank you. Excellent comment. All right. All in favor?
Is there a motion and a second to do that?
We did that.
Stumbled over the amount of money, but we did that.
All right, which brings us to Resolution TC 30-67. Will Mr. Lemoyne please bring that to the floor?
Certainly. Resolution TC 30-67. Be it resolved that the purchase and sale agreement for the acquisition of real property owned by Grace Episcopal Church and known as 5958 Main Street in Edgewood Ave parcels E06, 206, 207, 209, 210, 211, Trumbull, Connecticut is hereby approved, and be it further resolved that First Selectman Vicky A. Tesoro is hereby authorized to execute any agreements or take any necessary steps to complete the acquisition of said property.
Second.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, it's going to be necessary to go into executive session to discuss this matter. As we have pending contract negotiations, and we have a appraisal information with regard to the property. We would ask that the committee members, Mr. Massaro, who's a what's that? Ex officio, thank you. Ex officio member of the committee. First Selectman, Ms. Katsky, and Ms. Bakalar, whom we need. Otherwise, that would be it, and myself.
I'll make
Okay.
a motion that we go into executive session at 7:42.
Okay, all in favor? Okay, at 7:42, we now go in executive session. Thank you.
I'm going to give Margaret a copy of my...
which is Resolution TC 30-67 to the Town Council. Please signify by saying aye. Okay, thank you. It's unanimous. Oh, it's not? Do we have any opposed? I'm sorry, I didn't hear him. And one opposed. Okay, thank you. The resolution moves to the Town Council. All right, with that, thank you very much. And the meeting is now closed.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
You only say without objection.
And I met all I have to do, and in everything.